Hey everybody, Lauren Goodrich here. So I wanted to talk about time management because I am an epic fail at it. I don't have a good perspective on time. I tend to think time is expansive and that more of it actually exists than it does, and so it runs away from me. So this is a method that I was taught that really works for me when I'm using it, and I call it the Dave Ramsey approach to time. Okay, if you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, he's this dude who helps people get out of debt. He's a rock star, he's helped millions, and his method is you tell your money where to go. So you take a realistic look of this is how much I have, and then you tell it all where to go. We're going to do the same thing with time. The benefits I have seen: freedom, just freedom of time. Because I've scheduled everything else during my day, I love that when Gavin comes home, I get to be present with him. And I'll get to do the same thing with the kids when they get here. I get to be present. Like, I'm not on my phone trying to figure out if I've done everything because I'm work from home, so it's kind of hard to separate the two. This helps me do that. But that's the best way I can explain it. It's just freedom of time. Because then it's not like, oh, I forgot to do this. No, you scheduled that. It's done. You did it earlier. It feels a little bit weird your first couple of days because you're just like, whoa, I don't have anything to worry about. It's all scheduled. I feel like I should be stressed, but I'm not. It's quite nice. So, supplies needed. You are going to need 5 colors. It can be markers, matte pencils, crayons, I don't care. 5 colors. You're going to need a couple pieces of paper because you're going to redo this a couple of times. First one I did was a hot mess. You are going to need a calendar, either electronic or one of those big ones that you can write on. Because you're going to write all your color-coded stuff on this calendar. And then you are going to need some time. I would schedule about an hour to get through this. I think that's what it took me. Because it takes a little bit of time. And give yourself grace, because you're probably going to have to adjust and redo things. I'd say 3 or 4 times. It took me about 3 weeks before I had a better understanding of time and of how much time things actually take. So, lots of grace for yourself. Okay, so first thing to do is you are going to look at your lifestyle. You're going to categorize it into 5 boxes. All right? So whatever you do, 5 boxes is what it fits in. Now, one of these boxes I strongly recommend needs to be personal care. It's a must, to be honest. If you're not taking care of yourself, you have nothing to give to others. Okay? You can't serve, you can't love on your family, you can't do any of these things to the best of your ability if your well is dry. So take time to take care of yourself. Okay? So, an example, my 5 boxes are personal care, family, ministry, and then Beachbody personal and Beachbody organizational. Those are my 5 boxes. You need to figure out yours. So put me on pause and figure that out. Okay, now that you have your 5 boxes, each box, which gets its own color, by the way, hence the 5 colors, each colored box gets 5 bullet points. Okay, so whatever that category is, it gets 5 bullet points. Don't give it more than that because you are going to run out of time, I promise. And this makes you say no to some things, and that's okay. This needs to be what you and your family need. Okay, so with that example, my personal care box. Heart time with Jesus. Working out. My personal development reading. My team call. And my national wake-up call. Okay? Those are all things that feed me. They help me grow. They put me in the right mental state to be able to get my day going and to maintain sanity during the week. All right, so for each box, 5 bullet points. So put me on pause again and figure that out. All right, next, you are going to calculate your waking hours. When you get up to when you go to bed, time in between. Now, please be realistic. It's not going to work if you say, oh, well, I should get up at this time, but you actually get up at this time, because then you're scheduling time that doesn't actually exist. You are knocked out. You can't do anything if you're KO'd. So no, do what is consistently you. I consistently get up at this time. I consistently go to bed at this time. Here are my hours for every day. All right? Now, if you go to bed, later on the weekends or whatever, that goes into the estimation. Just consistently, what do you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Now, once you have that time, you are going to multiply it by 7, because there are 7 days in a week. Okay? All right. After that, this part gets a little bit messy. There's a few messy bits. This is one of them. You are going to guesstimate how much time each box should have. Okay? And if you need to, do this with your spouse or with a close friend, so they can give you an actual, like, hey, I see you only scheduled 1 hour for personal care. You need more than that, because 7 days in a week. But go ahead and do that. All right, after you have done that, you need to now schedule time for each little bullet point. Okay? Example, my personal care box. 3.5 hours a week for Heart Time with Jesus. 3 hours a week for workout. I do 20-minute workouts. 0.5 hours for Monday's call, because it's only one day. 0.5 hours for my team call, because that's only one day. 2 hours for personal development, because that's every day. It's not 2 hours every day. It's 2 hours for the week. Split that down into 7 days. Do the math. Do the math. All right? So, you figure out how much time each bullet point gets. Put me on pause. Figure that out. All right, next messy step. You are going to grab those matte pencils again, or crayons, or whatever. And you are going to practice. Oh, this is messy. And then you are going to apply it to your week. Yeah, you're going to think about 7 days ahead of you. Planning. I know if planning has been my Achilles heel. This has forced the issue, and it's been good. I've needed it, okay? So take a look at your week, and then plan out time for each thing. Now, what I found is that I kind of started bouncing in between of I would start to plan my week out, and that gave me a more realistic perspective. So then I had to go back to my box and all those little bullet points, and I had to like realign some things and just say, oh no, personal development reading time, if I'm going to do 30 minutes a day, then I need this, because 7 times 0.5 equals about 3. I'm not going to do math on this, sorry. But bounce in between them, give yourself grace. It's going to be messy, okay? But you're going to plan those 7 days color-coded according to what you've already done with your boxes. So this sounds complicated. It's not. To break it down again, you have 5 boxes that fit your lifestyle. Each box has 5 points. Each point has an amount of time. And that applies to the week. And then you're going to schedule out your week. And the time that you have is the time that you gave to each little bullet point. All right? So it's kind of like a magnification and then come back out again. All right. So the grace we talked about, this is where it's going to take a couple of weeks to get down what is realistic for you and your family. It, again, took me about 3 weeks, but once we got it down, it's been nice. That freedom of time is absolutely glorious. So these are the tips that I have for you. This method really, really has worked for me. It has made me say no to things that I need to say no to. It's made me take better care of myself. It's made me a better planner. It's given me a better perspective on time and what an hour actually means and how many things can actually squeeze into that hour. I have started doing where on Thursday night, because I want my Friday for my date. So Thursday night, I plan the next 7 days. So that way I'm like, okay, these are my next 7 days. And then each day, probably, I'd say before Gavin gets home, I will go over my next day. Because guess what? If something happens like, oh, there's a birthday party, or I need to run some errands, or whatever, I need to fit that in and juggle some time around. Because that way it's not, oh my gosh, I don't have time to go get milk and cereal and we're out, and Gavin's grumpy in the morning if he doesn't have his cereal. It's, no, I already took care of that. I have time. Okay? So I hope this is helpful. This has worked for me. I've loved the effects that it's had, and I hope you enjoy it. So you have a wonderful day.